What's up, Reapers? My name's Seth, and we are back again with some more Trove patch notes. Haha! How y'all doing today, everybody? Hope you're doing fantastically wonderful, and I hope this video makes your day even better. Man, I gotta add that back to my intros, like seriously, because really, I hope that you're having a great day. This is probably gonna end up being either 45 minutes to a little over an hour, because we're gonna be going through the entire patch notes here today, folks. We already ended up talking about this when this update was on the test server, but a few things have actually changed from that older version of it. So in the meantime, I just wanted to point out that Merc ended up throwing this right here in Team Pixel on PC. It's absolutely beautiful that we've got this proper logo to celebrate Trove Heroes and the Vanguard. Oh my gosh, absolutely excited about the Vanguard, like seriously. So topped with the fact that we're gonna have this video out today, which is gonna be very lengthy, I'm also going to end up releasing to the public my 6-hour live stream of me just grinding up my Vanguard to level 30 day one. Seriously, dude, that was the longest live stream I have ever done in my entire life. I don't know if I'll ever end up topping something like that, but we grinded this character from start to finish, and I'm really excited about that. In either case, we're gonna start giving away some information rather than prizes, so I would appreciate if you would hit that like button. Makes videos show up in searches and stuff like that, so let's get right to it. So there's some known issues immediately for PS4 and Xbox, talking about how the tutorial may crash after you end up killing the first 2 enemies, but as soon as you end up restarting the game, it shouldn't end up occurring. Then they also say attempting to dismount the mag rider during the tutorial by using the mount button may result in the player being stuck. This can be resolved by recalling to the hub. So just hold up on the D-pad to end up getting out of there. The digital Daemon costume for the Neon Ninja unfortunately has a few glitches. No pun intended. This is the Daemon costume. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? Seriously, I love it. But on consoles, it's got some glitches. It says, when crafted on the resistor's workbench, a weapon style is being granted that cannot be seen in collections. This weapon style still or will be made visible as soon as possible. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, because there is no weapon style that actually goes with this weapon. Devs. Like, there's none. I don't know what that is. Let me actually take a quick peek. No, there's no weapon style, so maybe console players are getting something we're not, but I'm just gonna take this weird neon one in the meantime anyways, whatever. So the other thing too that I wanted to personally mention is the fact that I ended up talking about this in my recent video showing all the resistor costumes, right? But the resistor costume for the Vanguard that you end up crafting out of this table, the craftable version of the costume will actually end up giving you a helmet, but then if you actually buy the costume from another player on the market, you won't end up unlocking the helmet. The helmet ends up also giving you 10 mastery. This just seems to be a universal glitch, but I have let them know about it on, I tweeted at them and they said, okay, thanks for letting us know, and they're going to end up fixing it in the next little hotfix that they end up putting out, right? Moving on. New class, the Vanguardian, or the Vanguard as we all call it, because I don't know why it says Guardian at the end. That's kind of a tongue twister, isn't it? But swooping into the spotlight, the Vanguard is here to save the day. You mean dabbing into the spotlight? Like seriously, achoo! Just kidding, I dabbed. The Vanguardian packs a punch with a new fist weapon, so this is going to be the new weapon style that we've already seen in the past. I guess I could do a video actually showing off all the different weapon styles and stuff like that to you guys, if you actually really think that's be something that you'd be interested in the first place. However, one thing that I am considering doing a video on is the fact that the styles of the auras, when you actually put them on your fist weapon, because the fist weapon is obviously smaller and very different in its design than any melee weapon or staff in the game, the aura is actually going to end up being unique. More specifically, if you use the neon lightning aura, it's going to end up kind of being a ball of lightning emitting from your fist rather than a long chain of lightning that ends up coming off of your weapon, right? So really, really cool that they ended up going that extra mile. The class is going to be obtainable a couple different ways, which I have videos talking about that in the description, so you can check those out, okay? Just a quick summary of the class itself. It's going to end up being a melee fighter that ends up being one of the strongest melee fighters in the game, just because of the simple fact that you can end up going through U9 not nearly as fast as the Neon Ninja, but very, very close. And unlike the Neon Ninja, a rage speed build, you can actually just play this game facing forward. But then you also have a ranged mode with this character that ultimately is pretty useless, but does end up giving you that extra bit of survivability in shadow towers. And with that, this character can actually handle ultra shadow towers. You can actually solo ultra dot if you're strong enough with it, I'll say that much, right? But I mean, I'm sitting here at 26k, so what am I talking about? And then otherwise, yeah, you're gonna be able to get this guy from the resistors crafting bench, which is gonna be in the Luminopolis biome. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Or you can end up just purchasing it out of the store. Obviously, I don't have any option for any of that stuff because I already bought it. You're gonna have 3 different options of getting this character from the store. Or I guess just 2, really. There's going to be a credit pack for 3,000 credits, which honestly, I would recommend that you actually go that route, even if you're a free-to-play player, is to buy the credit pouches from other players, because that ultimately is going to end up being a whole lot easier and cheaper on your flux than trying to craft all of these items that cost like thousands of plasmium, right? Because the decoder ring and blah, blah, blah. And you pretty much need all these items right here. But each of these items in themselves end up costing like all these other weird resources like logic loops, which is going to end up being in the materials section right here, which costs even more plasminium and so on and so forth. And then there's just the class itself costing sentient shards. So that's kind of a time-gated thing unless you end up going through for beacons and stuff. Like I said, I already have a tutorial explaining that in a little bit more detail. But there is going to also just be an outright $50 pack that you can end up buying. That's going to end up not only giving you the class, but you're going to get a couple costumes out of it, and you're going to end up getting these beautiful invisible wings. I am going to have a video that's going to be talking about each of the packs though, so you can check that out when it ends up going live on the channel. Be sure to sub and hit that notification bell so that you get notified. Otherwise, there's going to be the Luminopolis biome, so let's actually head on over to there right now. The one thing that I do actually like is the devs seem to be very self-aware of the fact that most players will actually quit Trove before they even reach U6, and because of it, they've been kind of putting all of the new biomes in the earlier areas. The Forbidden Spires biome, for example, shows up in the Novice world, which is really, really weird when you think about it. But U3 is just going to be the Neon City, and as soon as you get to the Neon City, it's just going to end up having the ability to generate a Luminopolis biome instead of a Neon City. It's pretty much the exact same biome, but it's kind of just a little bit different. And every time you go to the Neon City, you're going to see the Luminopolis right here. Now, Luminopolis is a really cool biome. It's kind of very vertical. It's got lots of, you know, buildings and stuff like that. It's very colorful with all the design and uses the new LED blocks for flashing lights and stuff. The sky has gotten some new rework done to it. The sun, if I could actually see it, is very, very beautiful as well. Oh my gosh, Rampage challenge. Perfect timing, right? We'll talk about that in 2 seconds here. But the normal neon biome has seen a bit of a rework as well with the new sky, a new sun specific to the Neon City biome, and then also there's going to be new electric trees that will show up in the Neon City as well, which is really, really cool. But either way, the new biome is going to end up containing plasminium, which is going to be pretty much the new staple hold resource that you're going to want in this game. Either you're going to be using it to craft all the new stuff, or you're just going to end up selling the plasmium because it's going to give you a lot. But these new enemy types right here that are kind of, you know, scattered around the area, those guys are going to be able to have a chance of dropping plasmium, as well as dungeons in the Neon City and the Luminopolis being able to drop plasmium as well. I'm pretty sure the Neon City ends up dropping it, but maybe it's exclusive just to the Luminopolis. Generally speaking, though, they've done a pretty good job of kind of balancing the two. And the Luminopolis very rarely can end up containing, I don't have any of it right here, unfortunately, and I don't really want to search for 5 hours to actually find it, but it can end up containing a very rare ore that is going to end up giving you a coin. So it's kind of like, apparently it's supposed to be a pun on bitcoins, which a little too late for that one, devs, because bitcoins are kind of not really a thing as much anymore. I mean, I guess it is. It's getting popular with everybody else, so it's not as late as the dab, that's for sure. But these new coins are going to be used to craft vanity blocks that you can end up just crafting and putting in your world. I don't think that they end up actually doing anything. I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit because we gotta have a resistors table, but this is going to be the Rampage challenge right here. So the Rampage challenge is going to be something that shows up every now and then. You know, I'm gonna have to actually pause this recording session just so that I can end up completing this challenge, because I'm going to need these guys right here, because there is a new set of badges tied to the Rampage challenge. So Rampage challenge is gonna show up maybe every 3 to 4 hours or something like that. Not entirely sure, you know, on the actual set amount that it ends up showing up. But when it does show up, you saw we get a big notification and we hop into a neon biome. So you hop into U3. As you go into U3, you're going to be able to see these guys randomly spawn out in the world. They kind of work like invaders, near as I can tell. So if you get a bunch of people, try to stay huddled together, because it means that the chances of the boss spawning on you are going to be that much higher. And what you essentially have to do is fight either an alternate version of Weeping Prophet, Pinata God, or Daughter of the Moon that are all going to end up having their own special abilities. And it doesn't matter how powerful you are for these guys because they work the same as Pinatas, in that they can only take 1 damage from every type of character that you have. So that's why the best characters that you can end up using to kill these guys is you either use a Shadow Hunter with the Draco subclass ability, because if that ends up proccing, it's going to do a machine gun on a machine gun, right? Or you end up using the Draco, which I would recommend, because you can use the Draco with the Shadow Hunter subclass ability, and that's going to end up kind of doing the same thing, a Searing Light, which pretty much is a machine gun effect. So your fire is going to be doing 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and then you can get the Searing Light to trigger, which is just going to go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. But on top of it, the reason why the Draco is better than the Shadow Hunter is because you can summon your Dino Babies, and each of them is going to end up doing more damage to these guys as well. So when you end up killing them, the challenge bosses themselves are going to end up giving you a lesser Neon Cache, which is going to end up giving you fragments for the new dragons. We'll talk about those as we get a little bit further in the video, but I do have tutorials talking about each of this stuff respectively so that we don't have to spend this entire video going into too much detail on it. Or the other item you can end up getting from them is the Neon City scrap case, right? Now these scrap cases are going to contain robotic salvage, plasmium, and stuff from the new biome, right? So it's kind of like all the new resources and stuff like that, right? So they're very useful, but the thing is too that the bosses, like the Rampage bosses, you can actually summon them in a club world if you end up crafting a beacon. So the beacon is going to be able, it's going to operate the same as a Pinata, where you throw it down on the ground in your club world, and then you're going to be able to fight this guy with everybody else. How cool is that? The person that throws down the beacon is going to end up getting 1 guaranteed sentient shard, and should guarantee themselves a scrap box, because these guys also operate the same as Pinatas, in that only 8 players chosen at random are going to be able to get a drop from this guy. The lesser caches you're going to get no matter what, because you get it out of the quest that's shown up, but the scrap cases, that's just random. Unless you're the person that threw down the beacon, then you're going to end up getting a guaranteed scrap case, at least near as I can tell. Also, I don't know why I forgot to mention, but you are going to end up getting a sentient shard for completing your first Rampage challenge, right? So not the first Rampage challenge entirely, just the first tier, because there's going to be 3 different tiers. You have to kill 1 boss to get to tier 2, kill 2 bosses to get to tier 3, and then kill 3 bosses to complete the entire quest altogether, right? But the sentient shard that you get, it's just daily. You can only end up getting 1 per day. Alrighty, thanks to everybody that ended up inviting me to that. Sorry that I couldn't end up bringing more people. So if you come on over to the hub, the Dragon Crucible is going to end up being up here as well as underground, and you're going to be able to craft these 2 new dragons from it. You also can end up crafting them from the resistors crafting table. I mean, I have a video that's going to be talking more specifically about each of these dragons, their crafting components, the new packs, and everything like that, right? So we can end up kind of just skipping on over all of that. And then also there's going to end up being a new NPC that can end up spawning with the new fixture. So let's hop into Team Pixel so I can show you all what that's about. So this giant spotlight right here is going to end up being the new fixture. I don't know why it's showing the wrong spotlight, but whatever, either way. It's going to give you an overclock resistors table, which is going to end up having all the same stuff that the normal resistor table does. Apparently it's supposed to give like a decreased price or something like that of crafting components, but I haven't really seen a difference. But these are going to be those blockchains. This is what I was talking about with those weird Bitcoin things. So don't be fooled by people trying to trade you a Gonda coin for an absurd amount of money. I think that the devs ended up making quite a mistake by actually calling a coin a Gonda coin, because lots of people are going to end up being tricked into thinking that it's something very rare and very like special, even though all of these things apparently they're just normal crafting blocks. I don't know, honestly. Like, maybe you just place them down and they look cool, and I think that's all there really is to it. I've seen a couple of screenshots of them. They're a little bit weird. You kind of have one for each of the different biomes, and for some weird reason, a chopping blockchain. I don't know. I think the point is you can put these blocks beside each other, and then it can kind of end up having a blockchain, quite literally, for it, right? And then there's going to end up being this button right here. You have to have the biome open in order to actually change the spotlight. I don't know why, again, that one's not doing it right, but what the fixture itself is supposed to end up doing is increases your glide speed, which allows you for longer flights, but does not increase your flight speed in general. So it's going to end up making it so that you descend a lot slower while you're flying forward. I don't know if it makes a difference while you're like pulling back or aiming forward. Generally, that seems to be the same. Or maybe it's just that it doesn't really make that much of a difference. But then you're also going to have increased plasmium drops for Neon City enemies. And then also a resistors workbench, which reduce crafting costs of beacons with each level. Okay, so the beacons are the only things that end up getting cheaper out of it, whereas everything else ends up being pretty much the exact same price. That totally makes sense. There's also going to be a new rare NPC that can end up visiting for 24 hours. Apparently, he's supposed to be a little bit more common as you end up leveling up the fixture, but we'll just kind of skim over this right here and just kind of say that apparently there's going to end up being an equal chance to spawn this NPC right here, which is the normal Neon NPC, and a 50% chance to spawn the new NPC that's at level 1, or apparently, and then at level 2, it's also just a 50%. Maybe it's a typing error on the first one of it being 50%. But then on level 3, you're gonna have 75% chance. We have level 3 and it still spawned this guy, so clearly the chances are just Trove chances where it just doesn't really work. But you're going to get the increased glide stat up to 120 from 105 being the one at level 1. And then at level 3, you're going to have 15% more chance to get plasmium drops. That's just 15% chance of actually getting the drop, not 15% more plasmium when it ends up dropping, right? Then they've also changed the welcome screen. Again, I have another video that's talking about this in more detail, but just in short, it ends up showing you the login item, as well as just a couple different store packs, the item that's in the chaos chest currently. This is going to be where current events are being played, so this is going to end up being the Hero Rises event, which I put that video up just yesterday, and then there's just going to end up being the daily reward, so you can end up taking a peek at all of this stuff for yourselves, or again, you can end up checking out my video that kind of talks about and breaks it down in more detail. New additions to the store. We already kind of skimmed over the Vanguardian packs. There's also going to end up being 2 dragon packs, which these things are extremely overpriced. I honestly wouldn't recommend them, where you're going to be able to craft this dragon and the other one, or not craft them, but you get them out of the pack, right? You get a golden dragon egg that's going to be tradable. Again, I'll have a video that's going to do a pack review of each of those, because they're $50 each for one dragon. Like $50 for one dragon, $50 for another. The other items you get out of the packs are not worth it. Hashtag confirmed. Like, I'm just going to say that right here. That said, these dragons are extremely difficult to craft, so maybe you want to drop the money down on it. I don't know. The Dissian dragon also is going to end up showing up for free in the deal section for anybody who spent money on the game. This is kind of similar to what has already been happening on console, but now this is going to end up being on PC. And anybody who ended up using a dragon effigy to get this guy, or ended up actually going through the process of going through the friend referrals, which is how we ended up getting these that specific dragon, like a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But you're going to end up actually getting a free dragon effigy back, just kind of as a thank you reward, I guess, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Why are people still able to invite me when I'm in Do Not Disturb? The Draco has seen some updates as well and ends up becoming pretty much the strongest Shadow Tower character in the entire game. Outside of Titan bosses, Gunslinger still takes it as being stronger, but Draco is definitely better for just clearing normal shadow dungeons. So we're going to have another video that's going to talk about that more specifically, because the changes are a little bit lengthy, and I just want to kind of go through it all. So there's VFX culling is going to be a new thing as well. What it's going to end up doing is making it so that you can end up changing the amount of particles that end up showing up on the screen or something like that. I don't know. It seems like it's just prioritizing which video effects are going to end up being hidden, and ultimately should end up making the game, be running at a more steady frame rate. That said, there is either a memory leak, or maybe it's because of the new shadows that are generating in the game. But when you're out in a normal Uber world, generally frame rate is going to end up having a big decrease, because they've actually got shadows in the game. Like you can see, for example, this is us in the club world here. You can see there's no shadow under this tree. And then if we head into a normal Uber world, or even just a novice world, you can see that there's clearly shadows under all of these trees, which does actually make the game look a lot better. I really like the way that it looks. It's great. but it has actually seen a decrease in frame rate overall, which is a little bit weird and disappointing. Anyways, there's also going to be expertise threads. So as soon as you get a character to level 10, you're going to be able to trigger a certain event that's ultimately going to give you the giant shadow panda. Now, anybody who played Trove, you know, a couple months ago, we already actually had access to this through a specific event, but now everybody's just going to generally be able to get this thing when they end up getting to level 10. They've also given us a couple extra LED blocks, so hopefully you guys ended up saving a bit of your adventurine because you're going to need it just to get yourselves a little bit more mastery, not that much. There's also new streamer dream allies. I'm not exactly sure why they even mentioned this in the patch notes, but I guess it is relevant. So I'm going to have another video that's going to show off all the streamer dream allies, but essentially the way that it works is content creators end up, you know, signing up to the Tryon Creative program, and then we end up getting these codes that we can give away. You pretty much just get like a bunch of streamer dream boxes for the month that you can give away, and then people end up using those codes on their account, and then they end up unboxing any of the allies at random. So what they've essentially ended up doing is adding 2 extra tiers to Streamer Dream. You can't see because people are constantly logging in and out on my screen, but we've got Streamer Dream 2. This is going to be the first set of new Streamer Dream allies that is going to end up being, you know, we can actually give these away because we actually have codes for the Streamer Dream allies. So if you're not already a part of it, you can join my Discord. Links are in the description. And we're pretty much giving these codes away, you know, whenever we feel like it. And then there's going to be Streamer Dream 3. So there's going to be a whole other category that is going to end up being a separate Streamer Dream 3 box. We haven't gotten codes for these yet. We've only gotten codes for the Streamer Dream 2, but as content creators, we get access to all of these guys. None of their stats are anything special, and they don't give mastery. It's just for looks. Then they've added a couple new dungeons to the game, a couple new battle arena maps, even though PvP is absolutely broken right now. And then we're already up to additional updates, which, oh my goodness gracious, this list just goes on and on. So we're going to try and go through it as quickly as possible, but I'm probably going to end up making a lot more cuts at this part in the video just to kind of talk about the things that are actually relevant and cool rather than talking about useless stuff like, oh, frame rate stabilization and junk like that. But first and foremost, they've added level 30 costumes to all of the classes. Now, I already have a video showing all of the costumes off, but essentially if you log into the game and you're wondering why don't I have mastery for all these costumes, you just switch to the class, and if it's level 30, once you end up switching to the class, bam, you're going to end up getting the mastery as well as the level 30 costume. Some of them are actually really, really cool, while some of them not so much. Flux costs finally have ended up being reduced for the focus items, which is the gem augmenters. Seriously, guys, now these gem augmenters, all of them, including the golden one, are actually worth crafting. Honestly speaking, I would say that the silver focus is still a little overpriced considering the amount of gem dust that you actually need. Even for somebody like myself, it just takes an absurd amount of gem dust, like seriously. But the gold focuses are actually worthwhile now because you can craft them for 50,000 flux instead of 150,000. And generally because you can craft so much more of them, like as you can see, the only thing that I'm out of now is my diamond dragonite, which it's great that I ended up getting to actually use it because I was able to augment pretty much everything that I needed to. They've also changed some of the adventure quests where, you know, for farming for adventurine, where you would normally do the parrot farming quest or kill 100 enemies and stuff like that. That is not going to end up counting towards the quest marker anymore. So they fixed that exploit of being able to go out and farm the parrot and kill 30 enemies and stuff, which unfortunately means that farming adventurine absolutely sucks right now. So I would recommend that you actually wait until they've fixed it and kind of added more methods to grind adventurine, kind of longer quest chains or something like that, because it's on their to-do list, but as of right now it's just gross. Which is weird because now they actually have a new type of potion that gives you 50% more adventurine, not to mention they actually have a new specific day that is going to end up giving you more to your adventurine experience, right? Actually, no, that's not the one. It's this adventure day. Adventure day. Okay, 50% more adventurine. So just farming in general will give you more adventurine. Also, anybody that ends up using the turtle tank and stuff like that, now the knight subclass ability is going to end up affecting your attack speed. So the higher your knight's PR, the more movement speed you end up having when you're using the knight subclass ability. And if you use a tank turtle, for example, it is now actually one of the most useful mounts in the game for people that can't afford bombs or just don't have other means of destroying dungeons and stuff like that. Because because now you can actually use the turtle tank effectively without having the reduced movement speed. Generally, they've also added a couple new map icons like 3 Trovians and other things. You know, the fixtures and clubs and stuff end up showing on the map. And overall, you know, the map has seen a bit of a quality of life update. Unfortunately, they still didn't have the foresight to realize that they need to put our little arrow above everything else because I can't see what direction I'm facing. Granted, yeah, that's where the compass is supposed to come in, but I never look at the compass. I don't like the compass. Shores of the Everdark biomes now have their own icon on the map. The video effects for air blocks and rally blade towers has been optimized and is noticeably different. So air gust blocks especially, you're going to be able to notice a big difference. They actually look really cool too. Fortress and Alburn now grant 30 power rank, and they also potentially fixed a rare double experience potion issue where it ended too early. The double experience potion icon that shows up in the top left should also continuously count down now rather than you having to log into a new world to actually refresh where the timer visually is. Oh, they also finally fixed the bug where Shadow Tower portals would appear on the ground after you laser mancied them, like you mine them, and then they would appear in your inventory, but they would also show up on the ground. I wonder if that means they ended up fixing that for a lot of the older props in the game, because that's what ended up happening is they changed it so a lot of the props in the game would automatically go into your inventory rather than you having to pick it up yourself, but it still actually showed the little icon, like the prop icon would end up dropping on the ground as if you could pick it up, but you couldn't actually interact with it, and it could actually end up draining a lot of frame rate too. They also say that they fixed an exploit that allowed enemy clones to drop loot, which maybe enemy clones, I guess they don't really count as the chakra that the Daughter of the Moon throws, because her chakra still drops items. Stratos ended up actually getting a stellar fist drop from Daughter of the Moon chakra. On Xbox and PS4, they finally added the display club name checkbox to the settings social menu. Clubs can now specify what ranks are allowed to speak and listen to the club chat channel. So I guess you could have a role in a club specifically dedicated to muting people, or maybe if you're not entirely sure if you want to bring somebody into the club and allow them to talk, maybe you want them to just listen for a bit. I don't really know where that would be useful. Oh, and another very small change that is great is when you end up loading up a Shadow Tower, right, and you end up going to Hard or Ultra, and then once you end up clearing all the way to the boss and you're trying to open another portal, it's going to keep the difficulty that you selected going into the portal so that it's not going to end up defaulting at normal over and over again, which should ultimately mean you're going to end up having less accidental portals opened, but you are still going to have to manually select the boss. Terraformers can now stack, which is a pretty good thing. The old boot is also now stackable, which is weird because the reason that the old boot didn't stack in the first place was it was trying to prevent people from using phishing bots. Apparently there's a new boot that can end up being fished up, which is going to be what stacks, while the old boot, the ancient boot, is going to end up being the one that doesn't stack. They also ended up generally fixing a couple different mounts that you end up crafting or getting out of the chaos chest that would kind of have inconsistent names between the one that you end up actually unboxing or crafting and the one that's actually in your collections menu. They apparently fixed that. Bamboo recipes have been moved from the Neon City workbench into the Forbidden Spires workbench. They also ended up removing the unused tether hotkey from the settings. Well, let's just not even talk about that. And then the view button now works in the settings miscellaneous menu, apparently. And that's already it, everybody. That pretty much covers everything. There might have been some subtle things that I ended up missing, but for the most part, this is actually a fantastic update, dude. And apparently, there's 4 really big updates planned for the entire year, this being one of them. Now, there are a couple bugs, and there is a hotfix plan that's kind of coming hopefully within a month, because seriously, I want my new Vanguard helmet, come on. And other than that, last but not least, I would recommend that these scrap boxes, if you really want to, you can end up keeping them. That's what Merc's doing, because sometimes you'll end up getting a quest from Illuminopolis City, because you can actually get quests where the resistors crafting benches are. I don't even think I showed you guys where those were, but if you look at the map right here, oh no, that's a rally of heroes, one sec. If you end up seeing this little icon right here, that's going to end up being an outpost shrine, which ends up having the resistors crafting bench, as well as an NPC that's going to give you quests that are specific to the neon biomes, right? And a lot of the quests will actually request that you end up getting certain recipe, or not recipe, but items, so plasmium, robotic salvage and stuff. So that's where Merc's just saving these so that if he ever ends up getting those quests, you just open a bunch of them, complete the quest, and you get some free adventurine. Oh, and in certain club worlds anyways, like Team Pixel, we've never had the message of the day show up, but now it actually does. So it's nice that they ended up fixing all that stuff. In either case, folks, thanks for watching. Very much appreciate. Hope that you enjoyed today's video and hope that it was informative. I am going to end up having separate videos for some of these things, end up coming out over the next couple days. But for the most part, again, if you're confused about something, I do have plenty of tutorials because we ended up getting to mess with this patch on the test server. So links are in the description for all that. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, favorite, and subscribe for more daily content. And if you want to support me, you can always sponsor my YouTube channel. Check links in the description for my merch store where you can get this shirt and a bunch of others, and we got some new ones coming right around the corner as well that I'm trying to work out. Or you can check out Gawkbox, which is a way that you can donate to me for free. Doesn't work for everyone in Europe though. Sayonara and stay epic, everybody.